First contact deception. High Admiral Thex stood motionless on the bridge of the Aetherian Empire's flagship Stellar Ascendant, his crystalline form refracting the light of Earth's sun in prismatic patterns. The massive vessel hung at the edge of the Sol system, its quantum sensors gathering data about humanity's supposedly primitive civilization. Most peculiar, Science Director Venna announced, her bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with confusion. Admiral, these readings cannot be reconciled with any known technological development pattern. Thex glided across the bridge, his crystalline feet making no sound on the polished deck. Explain. The humans appear to be using internal combustion engines alongside zero-point energy collectors. Their orbital satellites employ both primitive radio waves and quantum entanglement communication. Their cities are powered by fossil fuels, yet we're detecting dark matter containment facilities. Venna's tentacles twisted in agitation. It defies all known models of civilizational advancement. The Admiral's crystalline structure shifted hues from confident blue to cautious amber. In 3 centuries of exploration for the Aetherian Empire, the most advanced civilization in known space, he had never encountered such contradictions. Perhaps they simply developed erratically, suggested first contact specialist Zara, her holographic form flickering as she processed the data. Many young species showed technological inconsistencies during their early space age. No, Thex replied, his voice resonating like struck crystal. This is different. These aren't inconsistencies, they're deliberate choices. He gestured to the holographic display of Earth. Look at their power grid. The fossil fuel plants aren't poorly designed, they're optimized. The same with their combustion vehicles. They're choosing to use primitive technology alongside advanced solutions. Venna's tentacles suddenly went rigid. Admiral, we're being scanned. Impossible, Zara interrupted. Their sensor technology shouldn't be able to detect us through our quantum camouflage. Yet the evidence was undeniable. A beam of pure information was washing over the Stellar Ascendant, analyzing it down to the quantum level. More disturbing still, the scan was coming from what appeared to be an obsolete radio telescope array in a place called New Mexico. They're hailing us, Zara announced, her holographic form flickering with surprise. The signal, it's being transmitted in perfect high Aetherian. Thex's crystalline form shifted to deep purple, the color of absolute astonishment. High Aetherian was a language so complex it required quantum computing just to process its multidimensional grammar. Even most Aetherian colony worlds used the simplified trade language. The message was simple. Welcome, children of the crystal stars. We've been expecting you. Please proceed to the following coordinates for landing. The coordinates led to a facility in a desert region called Nevada. As the Stellar Ascendant descended through Earth's atmosphere, more contradictions emerged. The landing pad appeared to be simple concrete, yet it perfectly nullified their ship's massive gravitational field. The hangar was built with steel and glass, but somehow maintained an atmosphere precisely calibrated to Aetherian biology. Only 3 humans waited to greet them. An elderly man in a worn jacket, a middle-aged woman in casual clothing, and a young man who appeared to be barely out of adolescence. No military presence, no diplomatic corps, no crowds of onlookers. Just 3 humans, standing calmly in the desert heat. Something is very wrong here, Venna whispered as they prepared to disembark. Their behavior matches no known first contact protocols. No, Thex agreed, his crystalline form now shifting between multiple colors in rapid succession. It matches something else entirely. It matches the behavior of a parent welcoming home confused children. The landing ramp descended, and Thex led his delegation out to meet the humans. Before he could begin his carefully prepared first contact speech, the elderly man stepped forward and smiled. High Admiral Thex, he said in perfect high Aetherian, each quantum-layered phoneme pronounced flawlessly. I'm Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's Awakening Director. I trust your journey through the Carina-Sagittarius corridor was pleasant. The dimensional eddies can be quite troublesome this time of year. Thex's crystalline form froze in shock. They hadn't told Earth their route, and the Carina-Sagittarius corridor's dimensional disturbances were supposed to be a closely guarded Aetherian secret. The middle-aged woman stepped forward next. "I'm Dr. Sarah Connor, Director of Temporal Affairs. We have so much to discuss, Admiral. But first, would you like to know why Earth, humanity's cradle world, chooses to burn fossil fuels while also harnessing zero-point energy?" The young man smiled last, his eyes ancient despite his youthful appearance. "Or perhaps," he suggested, "you'd like to know why there are ruins bearing human writing on worlds your people haven't even discovered yet." Before Thex could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Dr. Chen checked what appeared to be an ancient mechanical wristwatch, but Thex's sensors detected technology in it that surpassed anything in the Aetherian Empire. "Right on schedule," Chen said grimly. "It seems the universe has decided to speed up our revelation. Admiral, we're detecting a Vorkath invasion fleet entering the galaxy. They believe Earth is a primitive world ripe for conquest." He smiled, but there was something ancient and powerful in his expression now. "Would you like to see what humanity is really capable of?" The simple concrete walls around them shifted, revealing a command center that made the Stellar Ascendance Bridge look like a child's toy. And as Thex watched in stunned silence, he realized that everything he thought he knew about humanity's place in the cosmic hierarchy was about to change forever. The truth about Earth wasn't that it was primitive. The truth was that it was so advanced, it had learned the wisdom of appearing primitive. And that truth was about to shake the galaxy to its foundations. The awakening. The Vorkath invasion fleet materialized at the edge of the solar system. 300 ships of living metal, each capable of devastating an entire continent. Their neural-linked commanders transmitted victory signals across subspace, already celebrating their conquest of another primitive world. They never saw it coming. Initiating Protocol Omega, Dr. Connor announced calmly, her fingers dancing across what appeared to be an antique typewriter, but somehow controlled systems beyond Aetherian comprehension. The space around the Vorkath fleet shifted. "Impossible," Venna whispered, her tentacles coiling in shock as she watched the readings. "The space-time fabric itself is folding," the young man completed her sentence. "Like origami. I'm Adam, by the way. Quantum Architecture Division." He gestured at the main display where the Vorkath fleet now hung motionless, each ship wrapped in layers of folded reality. "We find it's cleaner than weapons. Less paperwork." High Admiral Thex's crystalline form cycled through colors of disbelief as the most feared invasion force in known space was neutralized without firing a shot. "You possess technology that can manipulate the fundamental structure of reality, yet your cities still burn fossil fuels." "Technology isn't wisdom," Dr. Chen replied, studying the frozen fleet. "We learned that lesson long ago. The hard way." He turned to face the Aetherian delegation. "But this demonstration isn't just about showing our capabilities. It's about what's coming, something that requires us to wake up fully." As if on cue, alerts began flooding in from across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, ancient ruins were activating. Structures that had been dismissed as natural formations or the remnants of long-dead civilizations were awakening, revealing themselves as dormant human technology. On the Aetherian homeworld itself, the Crystal Mountains, long thought to be natural formations, began to pulse with internal light. Panic spread through the capital as the mountains revealed themselves to be ancient human ships, larger than cities, that had been sleeping for millions of years. "We scattered ourselves across the stars," Adam explained, his young face contrasting with the ancient knowledge in his eyes. "We left portions of ourselves sleeping on every world with the potential for life. Guardians, teachers, watchers." The command center's walls became transparent, revealing vast underground complexes stretching for miles beneath the Nevada desert. Similar facilities were being unveiled across Earth, beneath the Mariana Trench, inside Mount Everest, under the Sahara Desert. Each contained technology that made the Aetherian Empire's most advanced achievements look primitive. But why? Zara asked, her holographic form struggling to process the flood of new data. Why hide? Why pretend to be primitive? Dr. Connor's expression turned solemn. Because true power isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about knowing when not to use it. She waved her hand, and the command center filled with holographic images of human history. We reached the stars millions of years ago, built empires, fought wars that made galaxies tremble. We wielded power that no species should possess. And then we discovered something, Dr. Chen continued. Something that showed us the true cost of unbridled advancement. Something that taught us that progress without wisdom leads to extinction. The displays showed a darkness moving between the stars, not merely an absence of light, but an absence of existence itself. The void, they called it. A cosmic horror that fed on civilizations that grew too quickly, advanced too recklessly. We fought it, Adam said quietly. We won, barely, but the victory taught us that the universe needs balance. Young civilizations need to develop at their own pace, learn their own lessons. So we scattered ourselves across the cosmos, hiding our true nature, guiding subtly rather than dominating. Every mysterious scientific breakthrough your people ever had, Dr. Connor explained, looking at Thex. Every seemingly impossible leap in understanding. We were there, nudging, suggesting, protecting. The only difference now is that we're telling you about it. Suddenly, new alarms began blaring. The darkness they had shown in their historical records was appearing at the galaxy's edge. The void had returned. This is why we're revealing ourselves now, Dr. Chen said grimly. The enemy that taught us wisdom has returned. And this time, hiding isn't an option. We need to prepare the galaxy's younger races for what's coming. Not as conquerors, not as gods, but as teachers. The facility's floor became transparent, revealing vast chambers filled with ships that defied comprehension. Yet among these marvels stood museums of simple machines, steam engines, combustion motors, primitive computers, preserved as carefully as any advanced technology. The question isn't whether you'll accept our guidance, Dr. Connor said, her eyes fixed on the spreading darkness in the long-range scans. The question is whether the galaxy's younger races are ready to learn what humanity discovered millions of years ago, that wisdom is more powerful than any technology. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that bent light around itself, more humans were awakening from million-year slumbers. Across the galaxy, dormant human technology was stirring, preparing for the coming storm. The age of humanity's masquerade was ending. The time had come for the children of the cosmos to meet their guardians, and the true history of the galaxy was about to be rewritten. Legacy of the Stars. Deep within the crystal mountains of the Aetherian homeworld, High Admiral Thex stood before what he had always believed to be a natural formation. Now, as ancient human technology pulsed to life around him, he understood the truth. The entire mountain range was a dormant fleet, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Beautiful, isn't it? Adam appeared beside him, seemingly stepping out of thin air. We designed these ships to complement your world's natural crystalline structures. We wanted them to be a part of your evolution, not an intrusion upon it. The young human's presence on the Aetherian homeworld should have been impossible. They had left him on Earth just hours ago. Yet here he was, casually defying known laws of physics. How many? Thex asked, his crystalline form shifting colors with emotion. How many worlds harbor your sleeping ships? All of them, Adam replied simply. Every world with the potential for intelligent life. We're everywhere, Admiral. We always have been. Across the galaxy, similar revelations were unfolding. On the forest world of the Verdani, ancient trees were revealing themselves as biological computers of staggering complexity. In the gas giant colonies of the Nebulans, swirling storm patterns were reorganizing themselves into vast data networks. Back on Earth, Dr. Chen led Venna and Zara through a facility beneath the Mariana Trench. The pressure at this depth should have been impossible to withstand, yet they walked through corridors that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Your people believe they invented quantum computing, Dr. Connor explained, joining them from another impossible direction. In truth, we've been quietly guiding your research for centuries. Every major breakthrough, every seemingly impossible insight, we were there, whispering suggestions. Why? Venna's tentacles twisted with confusion. Why not simply share your technology? Because technology without wisdom is a path to extinction, Dr. Chen replied, leading them into a vast chamber. We learned that lesson the hard way. The chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the true history of humanity. They watched as human civilization rose and fell multiple times, each cycle reaching further into the cosmos, wielding greater power, until they achieved something beyond mere technological supremacy. We were like children playing with supernovas, Adam said, his voice carrying across space itself to reach them. We could reshape planets before we learned to cherish them as they were. We could create life before we understood the responsibility that came with such power. The images showed humanity's final ascension, not an advancement in technology, but an evolution in understanding. They had achieved the power of gods, only to choose the role of guardians instead. Then we found the void. Dr. Connor continued, her eyes distant. A cosmic horror born from the reckless advancement of civilizations that came before us. It feeds on technological progress divorced from wisdom, grows stronger with every species that races to power without understanding the consequences. New alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The darkness at the galaxy's edge was growing, consuming stars at an accelerating rate. But now, as the observers watched more closely, they could see something else. Patterns in the destruction that seemed almost familiar. It's using our old technology, Dr. Chen said grimly. The weapons and tools we abandoned when we chose wisdom over power. It's been gathering them, learning from them, turning our past mistakes into weapons. Across the galaxy, more human facilities were awakening, but they weren't revealing weapons or warships. Instead, they were unveiling libraries, schools, training grounds, places of learning and understanding. We're not awakening to fight, Adam explained, now simultaneously present in every human facility across the galaxy. We're awakening to teach. The void can't be defeated with weapons. We tried that millions of years ago. It can only be overcome with wisdom, with understanding, with the knowledge of when not to use the power you possess. In orbit around Earth, the captured Vorkath fleet hung suspended in folded spacetime. Dr. Connor gestured, and the stasis field shifted. The living metal ships remained frozen, but their neural-linked commanders were awakened, allowed to witness what was unfolding. Watch, she told them. Learn. Understand why we hide our power, why we choose to burn fossil fuels while we could be igniting stars. Technology is easy. Wisdom is hard. And only wisdom will save us all from what's coming. The void continued its advance, but now something was changing. The human facilities weren't preparing for war. They were preparing for the greatest teaching mission in the history of the galaxy. Every sleeping ship, every dormant facility, every hidden outpost was transforming into a center of learning. We need to teach the galaxy what we learned, Dr. Chen announced. Not just about technology, but about the price of progress without understanding. About the responsibility that comes with power. About the wisdom to know when not to use it. As if in response, the void accelerated its consumption of stars, as if recognizing the threat that wisdom posed to its existence. The final confrontation was approaching. Not a battle of weapons, but a race to enlighten the galaxy before the darkness could consume it. The true nature of humanity's ancient power was becoming clear. They weren't warriors or conquerors. They were teachers, guardians, preservers of the most dangerous knowledge of all, the wisdom to wield power without being consumed by it. And as the void approached, The greatest lesson in galactic history was about to begin. The ancient enemy. As the void devoured its 10th star system in as many hours, the galaxy's younger races prepared for war. The Aetherian Empire mobilized its crystal fleets. The Vorkath awakened their living metal weapons. 1,000 civilizations readied their most destructive technologies, preparing to face the darkness. Humanity watched and remembered. "We tried that too," Dr. Chen explained to an emergency session of the Galactic Council, his simple hologram standing in stark contrast to the elaborate projections of other species' representatives. "We threw weapons of unimaginable power at the void. We unmade stars and rewrote physics, and we only made it stronger." The council chamber erupted in protests. A Nebulon representative's storm form crackled with lightning. "Then what do you propose? We watch as it consumes our worlds." "No." Dr. Connor stepped forward, her presence somehow more commanding than any of the exotic beings surrounding her. "We propose to teach you what we learned. All of you. Right now." The facility beneath the Mariana Trench transformed, its impossible architecture reaching out across space-time to connect with every sentient being in the galaxy. In an instant, every individual of every species found themselves experiencing a memory, humanity's memory. They felt the intoxication of power as ancient humans discovered how to ignite stars. They experienced the thrill of creating their first artificial universe. They knew the godlike satisfaction of reshaping entire galaxies to their will. And then they felt the horror of discovering what such unfettered power attracts. "The void isn't just a cosmic horror," Adam's voice echoed through the shared memory. "It's the universe's immune system, a response to species that grow too powerful too quickly, that wield technology without understanding its true cost." Through the memory share, they watched as ancient humanity fought the void with everything they had. Weapons that could erase entire realities. Devices that could rewrite the laws of physics. Ships that could harness the power of multiple universes. Nothing worked. Every weapon only made the void stronger. Every attack only fed its growth. Until one human understood. Her name was Dr. Sarah Walker. Dr. Chen narrated as the memory shifted to a small laboratory on ancient Earth. She discovered that the void wasn't consuming technology. It was consuming the arrogance behind it. The belief that just because we could do something, we should. They watched as Dr. Walker demonstrated her theory. Instead of attacking the void, she simply understood it, accepted it, recognized the wisdom in its purpose, if not its methods. And in that moment of understanding, the void retreated. "That's why we scattered ourselves across the cosmos," Dr. Connor explained as the shared memory faded. "Not to hide, but to learn. To grow slowly, to guide others toward understanding rather than mere power. We built our ships into your mountains not as weapons, but as teachers." Across the galaxy, human facilities continued to transform. The sleeping ships in the Crystal Mountains weren't awakening as warships. They were becoming vast libraries of experience and wisdom. The biological computers in the Verdani forests were transforming into teaching centers that worked in harmony with the natural world. But the void was still advancing, consuming stars and civilizations that tried to fight it with technology alone. "We don't have time to teach each species individually," Adam announced, his presence rippling across space-time. "So we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to share not just our memories, but our understanding. All of it. With everyone. At once." Warning signals flared across every human facility. The strain could fracture space-time itself, Dr. Connor cautioned. "Then we'll repair it," Dr. Chen replied simply. "But first, we teach." In an instant, every sentient being in the galaxy experienced not just humanity's memories, but their wisdom. The knowledge of 1,000,000 years of growth, compressed into a moment of pure understanding. They felt the responsibility that came with power, the wisdom to know when not to use it, the strength found in restraint. The void's advance slowed, then stopped. Across the galaxy, weapons powered down. Ships designed for war transformed into vessels of exploration and learning. The Vorkath's living metal reformed into tools of creation rather than destruction. The Aetherians' crystal fleets became centers of art and culture. The darkness at the galaxy's edge began to retreat, not from any weapon or technology, but from the wisdom spreading through every civilization it encountered. The immune response was no longer needed. The galaxy's species were learning to grow without the cancerous spread of unchecked power. "This is humanity's true legacy," Dr. Chen announced to the stunned council. "Not the power to reshape reality, but the wisdom to know why we shouldn't. Not the ability to create universes, but the understanding of why the ones we have are precious enough." The void continued its retreat, shrinking before the advance not of weapons or technology, but of understanding. The galaxy's greatest crisis wasn't being solved with power, but with wisdom. And humanity's greatest secret was finally revealed. True power lies not in the ability to change the universe, but in the wisdom to know when to let it be. Guardians of Tomorrow. 1 year after humanity's great revelation, High Admiral Thex stood on the observation deck of a new kind of vessel. The ship, a joint creation of human wisdom and Aetherian crystalline technology, wasn't built for war or even exploration. It was a university of the stars, one of thousands now traversing the galaxy. Still getting used to the changes, Dr. Chen materialized beside him, his simple clothing unchanged despite the passage of time. The elderly human's appearance was deceptive. Like all his kind, he was millions of years old, choosing his form as one might choose a comfortable coat. "The Crystal Mountains," Thex replied, his crystalline form shifting in contemplative patterns. "They're singing again, but differently now. Not as weapons or ships, but as teachers. The same is happening everywhere," Adam added, stepping out of a fold in space-time. The eternally young human gestured to the gallery of holographic displays surrounding them. "Look, across the galaxy, civilizations were transforming. The Vorkath had turned their living metal warriors into environmental restoration systems, healing planets damaged by unchecked technological growth. The Nebulons were using their mastery of gas giant atmospheres to create vast neural networks dedicated to philosophical contemplation rather than military calculation. In the ship's main hall, Dr. Connor was teaching a class of mixed species about the fundamental principle that had saved humanity: the wisdom protocol. "Power isn't progress," she explained to attentive students from 100 worlds. "Progress is understanding when not to use the power you have." The void hadn't been seen since the day of humanity's mass enlightenment, but its lesson remained. Throughout the galaxy, civilizations were learning to advance in harmony with understanding, not merely in technological capability. "We're still building amazing things," Adam said, noting Thex's gaze on a nearby construction project where humans and Aetherians were collaborating. "But now we ask, should we? Before, can we?" The project they watched was a perfect example. A Dyson sphere being deliberately built to leave parts of its star visible to nearby inhabited worlds. The old humanity would have simply enclosed the entire star for maximum efficiency. The new understanding valued the inspiration that a distant sun could provide to evolving civilizations. "Your people still burn fossil fuels on Earth," Vena observed, her tentacles moving in patterns that now showed her understanding rather than her confusion. "Yes," Dr. Chen smiled. "Along with antimatter and zero-point energy and 1,000 other power sources, each technology has its place, its lesson, its purpose. The primitive teaches us humility. The advanced teaches us responsibility. The balanced teaches us wisdom." Deep in the galactic core, where the void had first appeared eons ago, a new kind of structure was taking shape. Not a weapon or a shield, but a grand archive. The repository of understanding. Every species contributed to its construction, each adding their own hard-won wisdom to humanity's ancient knowledge. "We were wrong about humanity," Thex admitted, watching construction vessels weave reality itself into new forms. "We thought you were primitive when we first arrived. Then we thought you were gods when you revealed yourselves. But you're neither. You're teachers. Parents," Dr. Connor corrected gently, joining them on the observation deck. We're the first children of the cosmos who grew up enough to become parents ourselves. And like all good parents, we know our role isn't to control our children, but to guide them toward their own wisdom. The repository pulsed with a light that wasn't quite physical, the combined understanding of a galaxy learning to grow without consuming itself. The void had been right, in its way. Uncontrolled technological growth was a cancer in the cosmos. But the cure wasn't destruction, it was wisdom. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't their technology, which could fold space like origami or build stars from scratch. It wasn't their longevity, which let them live millions of years. It wasn't even their power, which could have made them gods. Their greatest achievement was choosing not to use that power, choosing to hide in plain sight, to guide rather than control, to teach rather than dominate. And now, as the galaxy entered a new age of balanced progress, that choice was bearing fruit. What happens now? Thex asked, watching a group of young Aetherian students learning alongside humans, Vorkath, and a dozen other species. Now, Dr. Chen smiled, his eyes reflecting the light of countless civilizations growing together in wisdom rather than mere power. Now we continue teaching, continue learning, continue growing, because that's the greatest lesson we learned in all our millions of years. What lesson is that? Vena asked. That the universe isn't something to be conquered, Adam replied. It's something to be understood, and understanding never ends. As if in response, a new star ignited in the galaxy's heart, not through technology or power, but through the combined wisdom of 1,000 civilizations, choosing to create life rather than simply demonstrate their ability to do so. The age of unchecked power was over. The age of wisdom had begun. And humanity, the teachers who had hidden themselves in plain sight, watched with pride as their students took their first steps into a future guided not by what they could do, but by what they should do. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest secret. True power lies not in the ability to change the universe, but in the wisdom to help it grow as it should.